Well, thank you very much, Ingram.
Thanks, bud.
All right. All right. Well, how's everybody doing today?
Awesome.
All right. Everyone have safe travels?
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. That's the most important thing. Traveling long distances, make sure everyone gets here in one piece. Well, guys, my name is Mike Jackson. I'm the CEO of Auto Search Technologies. We're going to go through here and talk today about web tips to regain lost sales. Let's go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint here. There's quite a bit of information that's in this PowerPoint. We're going to have some time for some Q&A at the end. But if anyone has any additional information above and beyond the Q&A, we do have a booth downstairs. I'd encourage anyone to come by. I can actually email or have you guys download a copy of the PowerPoint if there's anything that we had to go over too quickly. But with that being said, I'm excited to be here, guys. Welcome to Orlando. This is the kickoff of the NABD East Coast Convention. We're excited to be here, and let's get started. Now, who am I? Why should you listen to me? There's somebody named Michael Jackson on the stage standing in front of you. It might sound like a joke, okay? You want to know that I have something of value or merit that you can trust. Now, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Auto Search Technologies, AST. We are a software development firm. We cater 100% to the automotive industry. This is our backyard. This is where we play every day. A lot of companies out there have multiple different facets where they delve into. And automotive, I'll tell you guys, it's a completely different niche than anything else. And you have to be in that industry, and there's a lot of dealers that I talk to on a daily basis who come to me and say, well, I have a site and it's through WordPress, which is a free open source company, and the guys that built my site are local, and they also have several real estate sites, and they've built a couple of sites that do farming, and a bank locally at a credit union. Well, that's not going to be in the backyard you're playing with. So take a look and make sure the biggest thing that you want to take a look at is the provider you're currently using, and are they specific to your industry. Now, we probably support and built the technology for NABD, for Ken Chilson and Ingram Walter's organization, as well as some Prime Analytics. The NIDA, I'm not sure if you guys are members of the NIDA as well, but if not, it's a great organization. Definitely seek it out for your local state organization. And above and beyond NIDA, there's about 26 individual states that I built the technology for as well. If I was a snake oil salesman, I wouldn't be working with these types of organizations. NIDA certified, as well as NIDA TV. Now, why should you listen today? We are the industry leaders in free. Can anyone repeat that word? 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. Free. That's a good word, isn't it? You guys like that word? Yeah. Okay, because you spend a lot of money to come to these things. It's nice to be able to not be pitched a product or sold anything. Free tips and tricks that you can apply to your current website, regardless of the provider, to succeed now. And I'm sure that all of you would agree that somewhat of a percentage has slipped this year. Whether it's 1%, it could be up to 30%. In some cases, maybe more, and if so, you definitely need to pay attention today. Because we're going to be covering how to regain and actually show an increase before the time that tax season actually officially starts. I know there's some people taking a proactive approach starting right now with tax max programs and those types of things, but when it officially starts and the first check is received in the mail, it's too late to start trying to get in line. You want to be at the front of the line when the people are there, not figuring out a way saying, wow, look at all these people that are here, how do I get to the front of the line? And we're going to be covering this here today with free organic SEO. Now, over 70% of our client base is buy here, pay here. What kind of industry are you guys in?
Buy here, pay here.
Okay, so we're not trying to sell kittens to people that want puppies, right? Okay, this is the market that you're in. We cater your organization, and it's free. Now, is there anyone a member of a 20 group? One, two, okay. Now, the reason behind a 20 group, for those of you who didn't raise your hands, it's very informative. You can take the information you've learned and gathered and actually learn from other people's mistakes on how much to pay your collectors, scheduling for calling, what to get down on the car, certain price point options, because it works for others and it can work for you, and that knowledge and that information is extremely valuable. Well, I have 1,700 clients. that aren't having problems. This is why we need to listen today. Now, the future for online success depends on your decisive action today. You have to take action. A great idea without implementation is just a great idea. I have lots of great ideas, and I probably would be a multi-billionaire if I would have decided to take all those ideas I had and put them and implement them into action processes versus just thinking about them. So what we're going to do today is talk to you about some items that you can think about whether or not you want to implement them within your daily practices. Now, before we can even talk about what to do, we have to talk about what changed. You have to identify so you can overcome. You can't just overcome an option if you don't know what that option is. Now, new car dealers adopt a subprime. I love this slide where they're burning money, because you guys all know that they can actually do that. The average new car store spends at least $40,000 a month on advertising. How much do you guys spend? Raise your hand if you spend $40,000. Raise your hand if you spend $30,000. Raise your hand if you spend $20,000. Okay. Raise your hand if you spend $10,000. Raise your hand if you spend $5,000. Now raise your hand if you spend $0. Got a couple people in here. Now, could you send a 4-year-old soccer team against the Seattle Sounders or FC Dallas or the Portland Timber for the MLS? No, couldn't do that. They wouldn't win. It's unfair advantages. And so you can, if you are creative in your approach. There's certain things you can do, and I'll tell you right now, being an independent dealer provider, most providers to the automotive industry have separate pricing for independent buy here, pay here, as they do for new franchise car stores. So you guys do get a little bit of an advantage, but we want to make sure to stack the deck in your favor so that way you get the best odds. Now, there are a lot of buy here, pay here dealers that are taking a more proactive approach in your local market. The person that is actually applying these tactics and methods in your area is beating you out. And what happens in the search engines, when somebody moves up, what causes that to happen? If there can only be 10 results on the first page, what happens to the people that are where you were? You get shoved down below them. You might be on page 1 and have been shoved back to page 3 because now there's more competitive buy here, pay here dealers in your local market. They're doing a better job at adapting to the current market and tactics than you are currently. So the new car store, which is absorbing a large funnel of the available market, plus competitive dealers in your area, is what's causing this shift. Now, where did my business go? Obviously, as we mentioned, I like some of these slides. They're great visual here. Other used and buy here, pay here dealers, local new auto dealers, neighboring used buy here, pay here dealers. Now, when I say neighboring, one thing you guys definitely want to take a look at is the radius in which you're catering to. I know a lot of dealers tell me every single day, well, I don't want to drive 25 miles to repo a car. I don't want to drive 50 miles to repo a car. I don't want to drive 100 miles to repo a car. I don't want to drive 150 miles to repo a car. Well, to increase that percentage, you might definitely want to take a look at the target audience where you're going for. Now, one thing that's not going to be on the slide here, but I want everyone to write this down. It's a website called Travel Math. This website was put into place for people that are traveling to find out other cities that are close to and located where you are reside from or where you're traveling to. And if you simply go to Google and type in cities near, and then the city in which your dealership is located, within the top 3 results, pretty much guaranteed 99.99% of the time, if not, it's going to be on the first page, you'll find a link to a website called Travel Math. And you click on it, it's going to show you a list of about 15 cities that are the closest cities to your dealership or to the city in which you're located. Now, very simply, did you have a question, Ingo?
Yeah, AV, bring this up. Yeah, do you want questions at the end, Michael?
Well, we can do questions at the end, but we can do one if you have one right now. I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about microphone. The travel, say that again now, because I'm putting this, and I forgot to mention something at the beginning because I mentioned it in the first timers conference, but in one of your tabs about takeaways in your book, if you look at the back, takeaways, page that should say best ideas. And Michael Jackson, last time in Vegas, loaded my page up with best ideas. And so I want you to, what I do is just tear that sheet out, and I keep referring to it. I tear it out and stick it in the front pocket of my book, Michael. And I just want everybody to do that because he's already given us one to put on our takeaway list. But I'm going to ask you to go back through it because the time I found mine, I want to make sure I do this when I get back. So thank you, Michael.
Oh, not a problem at all. Now, the second step to this, guys, and obviously within every single local demographic, there's going to be different localities. I know, speaking with the ladies in the front row, they said Northern Kentucky is where they're from, and it's almost its own independent market, even though it's close to Cincinnati. Okay. Now, from Orange County, California, where our headquarters is located, people don't type in Irving, Santa Ana, Orange, Tustin, Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, Laguna Beach. They type in OC, 2 letters, Orange County, because all of the cities are so closely populated. Now, that only takes up 2 characters worth of verbiage within the metadata you're using. However, sometimes in Southern California, I know Gus Camacho is a member of you guys as well. He was at the last conference. The Inland Empire is something that is referred to. And now, you will never find Inland Empire on a map. It doesn't exist. But people in that local region refer to the area, which is halfway between Orange County and Las Vegas, as the Inland Empire. It's the area that's about 50 miles in from the coastline, from the coast of California. Now, in your local market, sometimes it might be good to put in some of those localities that are more coined terms or slang per se within your local area if there are people that you feel would be searching for those. However, that being said, by going to travelmath.com and looking for cities near the city that you're listed in, you can actually do a secondary search and print off a list and say, hey Google, what's the population of? What's the distance from? You create a little spreadsheet real quick, and then with about 15 cities, it shouldn't take more than about 5 minutes to do so. But you could say, well, there's 50,000 people here, there's 30,000 people here, there's 20,000 people here. Should I really be targeting on the cities that I'm targeting, or should I open up my reach and my range? Do I really want to stick to my ground now and saying, well, is it worth losing 15 cars a month to not actually open up and go an extra 10 miles to repossession that car if I need to? These are some of the questions that you have to ask yourself, because if you're fishing in a pond that doesn't have as much fish in it than it usually should, you need to diversify your portfolio by fishing from multiple ponds that have more fish. And you will succeed every time. Everything in life, guys, is a numbers game. From the DNA in our genetic makeup to the matrix. You're talking about zeros and ones, guys. This is all what happens. Make sure that you're populating your website with the largest reach possible to ensure that you're bringing in the catch in which you're looking for. Now, working smarter, who's my competition now? We've identified that it's other used auto dealers. Buy here, pay here dealers are taking more of a vast approach on actually implementation of these great ideas versus just thinking about these great ideas. Over the last year here, I've been given the pleasure to speak at the last 4 conferences for NABD, and a lot of dealers that sit in this crowd actually decide to take action, and they're actually getting better at what they're doing. And for other people that happen to be from the same city, what happens with that if they're not taking action? They're dipping down in the polls. Now, 2014 to 2015 NADA data, what I wanted to talk about here is primarily the new car stores. More than 10.5 million people were employed at U.S. new car dealerships, higher than any other automotive industry that's related. Well, a lot of these dealerships, as I mentioned, have $40,000 a month to spend. They force their employees to use social media. Now, I'm a firm believer that I don't want to go to Facebook and be sold a car. I don't want to get invited to a dinner party and get sold Amway. Okay? But at the same time, there's creative ways that you can actually represent your business and your whole reputation through the employees that work for your dealership. They say lead, follow, or get out of the way. These guys are leading in this industry. You know, it's not too bad to post positive testimonials on your social media. But if you're just plugging in all of your vehicles every single time, guess what's going to happen? People are going to unfriend you. Now, there's new algorithms that Facebook's put into place recently where if you don't have internal interaction and communication, people don't see your messages. So you could have 5,000 members, but if those people aren't interacting and clicking on comments and posts and putting information in and interacting with your page, you could put out an advertisement, maybe one person would see it out of 5,000. So You're talking about jokes of the day, funny pictures, comment, name your best comment, giveaways, things of that nature to get people interacted. The less you pitch, the more you sell. But these people have their employees, and with 10.5 million people, that's a lot of competition you guys have out there. Just drive around the streets of where you're located and count the franchise dealerships that are within your area, because their employees are helping paint the fence, per se. We've all heard the story of Mark Twain painting the fence. He decides to tell everyone how fun it is to paint the fence, and he gets everyone to help him do it. It's a lot easier to get it done when you have more people that are actually on that same goal versus just you alone by yourself, or a part-time employee, or someone that you have to train in order to do this. Make sure that you're taking the right approach, but make sure that you're utilizing the access to the employees that you have at your readily available. Now, what do they have that I don't? Number one, money for advertising budget. I know that the buy here, pay industry is booming with cash flow, but the allocation for budget is one of the biggest things. But number two, the perception of newer, nicer inventory. Okay, you guys used to be a niche market after 2007. You're no longer niche anymore. I'm sorry to burst that bubble, but once the financing floodgates opened, there's other people that are in the same area that can now get people approved with the same credit scores. And the perception is that they have newer, nicer, cleaner cars. Over the last several years, I know specifically in California, Ingram, I know that you've paid attention to a lot of the laws that happen there, because they happen in one state, they happen somewhere else, they pop up in the legislation several years later. But the buy here, pay here industry has a reputation now that needs rebuilding. Who here offers a 70,000 mile, 7-year warranty? Bought my wife a car at CarMax. Guess what I got? 70,000 mile, 7-year warranty. Cost me $1,300. Okay. There's options out there, guys. Make sure that you're not just using what you've always used. Get better options. They want peace of mind. There's a trade-off, guys. It's like a scale. For everything that's stacked on this side, there's going to be this side going up. Okay, and I understand they want no money down, no down payment. I heard a commercial on the radio today from a dealer that's offering $1,000 cash back, doesn't matter what your credit is, for a brand new $47,000 Mercedes-Benz, and you can enter to win $1 million. I was like, what? What kind of, these are the levels that these guys are stooping to, okay? And you gotta be aware of what your competition is doing so you can overachieve. Now, better brand reputations, okay? Using these social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, okay? Now, how many options are on page 1 of Google, guys? Does anyone know? 10, okay? Well, when somebody knows the name of your business, which is traditionally after they found the car, they want to make sure that they can buy the vehicle from you and that they're not going to get ripped off. At that point in time, they type in the name of your business. There's 10 options that show up on the search engines. Well, your website's probably going to be number 1, or it should be if they're typing in your name. Otherwise, your company, you should definitely seek out a new provider. But Facebook, Twitter, different business directory listings. I wrote an article for a magazine recently. It was the top 50 business directory listings. These are free, guys. It just takes time to set up. Every business directory listing allows you to put in a link that can link to your website. Outbound links link to your website, create value. Now, bobsautosales.com could be a link you insert, or bobsautosales.com/testimonials could be the link you insert. So you're creating positive doorways with positive consumer-facing information into your website if you need to build up your reputation. Creating the Google Places or Google Plus profile, definitely a must, because when people are searching within your area, they're going to see a map of local businesses with a little teardrop pinpoint upside down of where your business is located. Making sure that you're putting that positive information out there can very easily combat any negative information. And obviously, who goes to page 2 of Google? When you do a search, please raise your hand unless you're doing research. Who actually goes to page 2 of Google? Does anyone? They don't? So if you have a positive or negative review, this number 6 on Google, and you set up, let's say, 10 positive consumer-facing business directory listings to your website, and that gets shoved down to number 2, guess how many people see it? 12% versus 96%. little adjustments can help tremendously. Now, larger budgets to execute with, we talked about that. You can turn $1 into 1,000, or you can spend $100 to turn it into 500. It just depends on how successful you are. What we're going to be talking about in the plans for execution here is going to teach you just how to do that, to beat out the big boys without actually having to spend all the money. Now, does anyone remember the home loan modification little process that we went through back in 2008 and 9 after the collapse in 2007? You guys should, because it helped kickstart the Consumer Protection Finance Bureau. Now, what this meant for the mortgage companies and the refinance companies was a bad reputation on them, because a lot of companies actually stole money from people in their markets and never actually did what they claimed they would do, and it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. That's kind of what the press portrays for the buy here, pay here industry today. We talk about the concurrent class next door about what we can take away from the small loan business. We should be learning a lot more from the real estate market, because it's all circular. Now, were all refinance companies bad? No. There's a lot that were good. And just like you guys in this room, you guys are offering a product and service that's needed in the industry. And unfortunately, you've been run through the mud a little bit. And we need to change that. Now, you have to stand out as a hero, that you're helping the consumer, and you have a heart, because the biggest thing on their mind is repos, 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 repos. They're going to steal the car from my grandma and take it away and sell it, and I'm going to spend $42,000 for a Geo Prism, because that's what the LA Times put in. It takes a lot of work to push that train car up a hill, and the momentum from people and dealers like yourselves in this room with legislation can help turn those items over, upside down. And that's what so far has been happening, but you have to identify your obstacles so you can overcome them. Now, 2016 will bring a campaign smear ads for the presidential race, right? You think that you're gonna be able to turn on TVs and see those? What do you think the franchise dealers are doing right now? Essentially, with the type of advertising that they're running is exactly the same thing. Make sure you take action now. There's enough time between now and January 1st, January 15th, February 1st, to be able to implement the ideas that we're going to be covering today in order to make sure that they stick, take action, and are implemented correctly. Now, focus on your strengths, but understand your weaknesses. Every dealership has a weakness. I'm sure as dealer principals or GMs or IT managers that are all in this room, you guys could probably count on one hand or two some of the weaknesses you've been able to identify that maybe just slipped through the cracks a little bit. Time is of the essence, and we want to make sure that we identify those and we snip them off as quickly as possible. Now, from 1 to 10, how is my dealership perceived? Find your number and improve it. You can't improve upon anything unless you actually know what you're working with. Now, do I present my business the way that I need? Do you guys ask your customers? Does anyone here, above and beyond having a customer survey, ask your customers as you're selling the car if there's anything that they could help you on improving? It's a great takeaway from how did you hear about us? Was there anything that we could improve from the financing to the process? Ingram, you have a question?
Yeah, I've become obsessed with this, and I just want to know your opinion on. I asked the customers. I said, how did you find out about us? Oh, I went online, especially the young people. Oh, I went to your website. Well, I said, now tell me more, because I'm kind of a tech tard. I said, so you went to icarsnow.com. Oh no, well see, I started out on Google and I typed in this, or I typed in that, or I went to Auto Trader.
Found a vehicle, then clicked on view all inventory, or so on and so forth.
It came to us, but it came through somebody else, and I'm like, well, why did you go to Auto Trader? Why didn't you go to cars.com? And I don't know who all else is out there, but I think we've got to ask everybody we sell a car to. So that, look, they just don't all know our website. It's not a matter of just is your website out there, let me go see iCars.com. Are there any statistics on how many just type in bad credit Charlotte, North Carolina, or used Sonata, bad credit Charlotte. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, exactly. Now, I kind of do have to play as an educator, church and state a little bit, because I don't want to down talk any types of third-party services. Obviously, it's a perception, but I will tell you that in certain areas, cars.com is extremely popular, and AutoTrader doesn't do a lick of good, but AutoTrader does better in certain states. I know up in Massachusetts right now, there's a site called lemonfree.com that's free that everyone goes to. So certain areas, guys, find out, because obviously, I mean, you're talking about large monthly fees. I mean, $1,500, $1,200, $1,700 to try something just because it has a global perception versus a perception in your market. I mean, if even you look at about a 6-month minimum and calculate what that is, I mean, it can be a big pitfall to climb out of.
Okay, so let's assume for a minute. So if we get any of your programs to use the search optimization tools, and I'm just as retarded as you about websites and search engines. So if we get that, can it bump us half the cars.com and AutoTrader stuff in our local market? I mean, can we use enough of that technology to get past negative?
Well, yeah, well, definitely. And the last thing I want to do is this is more of an education class versus products and services that our company also does provide. But ultimately, guys, I mean, if you guys do searches online for any different term, you're going to see that primarily they show up in what are called the paid ads. They're paying millions and millions of dollars a year to be on advertisements. And I can tell you right now, just to answer your question of who could show up first or second, the platform shifted a little bit. 75 to 85% of all searches are clicked on organic listings through the search engines. Not paid. And it used to be a flip-flop when paid listings first came out. I mean, as Americans, we want everything now. We have to have microwave directions on a box of Pop-Tarts for 30 seconds in the microwave so you can eat that quickly when you wake up. And we get angry if McDonald's doesn't give us our cheeseburger within 37 seconds. People just would click at the top like we're a bunch of blind, deaf, and dumb monkeys, and that's just what people did. Nowadays, though, people are getting smarter, and you can tell by looking at something, guys, which is called the click-through rate. If you click on a link, the click-through rate gauges how many additional pages that the consumer clicks through. Now, if they had something of interest, they would click further into the site. If not, they would traditionally click the back arrow, okay, and leave the website. So the more pages that are clicked through within the site actually make a lot of difference. And organic listings make up 75 to 85% of the clicks, but they have a 27% click-through rate versus a 1 to 9% click-through rate for paid ads. And I know I've given this analogy a couple times before, but I was looking for a custom cake for my wife, and I went to Google and I typed in cake shop Orange County, and 1-800-Flowers and balloon companies were popping up. I mean, do they make cakes? No, they don't. But if you're having a party, people could, assume that you need some of those or multiple of those other items. And nowadays, the advertisers are getting so greedy that they're actually trying to advertise in markets that they don't belong in, and it's losing the trust of the consumer. So nowadays, consumers aren't as prone just to clicking on the advertisements at the top versus scrolling through the local organic listings that they see, which they gain and they trust, which has actually increased the number and has split the difference. It used to be a landslide of percentages. The top listing used to get about 87% of the clicks, whereas now the top listing gets 56.7% of the clicks. Number 3 is 13.8, and number 3 is 9.6. Those top 3 percentages roughly make up 80% of the clicks, which means you're not within the top 3 listings, you have about a 20% chance of being showcased. So that might answer your question, but I definitely don't want to down talk a company, because companies are great. They're worth every penny if you feel they are. And in different markets, those services can be beneficial or not. It's just one of those things that I would definitely, if you're contemplating using a service like that, talk to a couple local dealers in your area in which you trust, so they can actually kind of gauge and give you the results of what they're getting. Yeah. If you can beat them out of money, I mean, it's just that's where companies like vAuto came from. That was the inception, and the reason why that they purchased vAuto was, okay, this is a pricing tool. Sometimes it's like the price is right. 1501 sometimes wins the showcase showdown. Your $1 difference, and it means all the worth in the world. So.
We need to all know our click-through rate. I put that in my notes here, Mike. I don't know what mine is. Is it important that we find out?
Well, it's definitely good to always improve. Identifying your click-through rate. I mean, one thing I'll talk about here real quick before we move a little forward, and I got DJ Harrington coming up here. But everyone understands that they've seen a hostage movie, right, where somebody gets kidnapped. The FBI's there, and they're like, keep them on the line. We almost got them. 5 more seconds. Okay? You know, if you can keep somebody on your website for 26.5 seconds, it's almost like doing that. So there's some strategic things you can do on engaging the client with some short videos or possibly some pop-ups after a couple seconds to keep them on the line long enough so where Google says you get an A+ thumbs up. Once they click through about 4 pages, it's pretty much predominant to Google that they say, and evident that they say, you know what, this consumer had, or this business had what the consumer was looking for. They're engaged enough within the site in order to be able to, you know, get that thumbs up.
Okay.
So.
Can we take a question back here?
Well, we're going to do Q&A at the end. I know Ingram had a couple quick questions. If we could say that for the end, I just want to click through a couple of these here, but in about 5 minutes here, I should be able to click through this here. Now, the biggest thing that we've understood about the market here is the reputation. And right now, there's a lot of consumers that think that buy here, pay here dealers are going to repo the vehicle the first time on late pay. And that's the biggest type of perception that we're looking at today to overcome. You know, the willingness to work with customers who are behind. And what you guys can do is increase the loss percentage that you guys have been seeing by a higher gain percentage by looking at different markets and actually attracting those markets to your dealership. But if you have 100% minus 30% equals 70%. If you add 40%, you're at a positive, you're at 110. If you guys were at 20% and you guys can increase by 30%, you're at 110. Everybody in this room has a little bit of a different percentage that they've lost over this year, and it's being able to identify that in order to overcome it. Definitely find out what that is, and we can help you work on that increase to make sure you're showing a positive gain versus a loss. Now, do we have enough time to compete? Yes, if you act now. It depends on how long it takes you to accomplish a said task. Obviously, everyone in this room probably would agree for the most part that the holiday season is the time period in which you guys probably have the most time. The majority of your guys' sales are made up from, you know, well, some November, December, but for the most part, you know, January through May. Obviously, the last couple of years that have stacked on top of each other have been progressively pushed back later each year, so it's kind of hard to, you know, pick a specific time. But traditionally, it's, you know, the first quarter and a half of the year make up about 70% of the sales for most buy here, pay here dealers when done correctly. And we want to make sure that you create a goal calendar. Now, we have a goal calendar at the booth. If you guys want to come by, we can give that to you guys. It's basically a goal calendar that takes all of what we're talking about and ideas for implementation of what to put on Facebook at a specific time, what business directory listing to create at a specific time. Now, there's going to be some businesses that have some things created, some that don't. Come by our booth. We'd be more than happy to shoot this out to you via email or actually mail you a hardbound copy of this calendar to either give to yourself or to your IT person, general manager, because it's really easy to do, but when you think about everything kind of cluttered right into one little area and time frame, it almost seems overwhelming. And with technology, it can be even more overwhelming because it's where do I start? And if you have a footprint map to success, it's very easy to follow those footprints and step inside the bigger footprints that are already in front of you and kind of guide you on that course. Now, applying the time to your website during the holiday season, it's a lot slower. This is the time. Make sure you act now because there's going to be a lot of dealers, I guarantee you, that will not be here next year. Some dealers slip 40, 50% this year that I've talked to, and they say, I can't stay in business any longer. I'm shutting down 5 of my 7 locations because I haven't been taking those right steps. So definitely make sure you take that time to make sure you're applying it to your business because it's a lot easier to delegate those tasks to somebody else in your business to oversee. Sometimes it's nice to be able to take those reins back. Now, can you write it out? Yeah? You can cut marketing costs. You can lay off some of your employees. You can work 14 to 16 hours a day, which I know you guys probably already work 12, so it's not that bad. You can retire, come back in a couple of years. Otherwise, good luck. Where do you start? Identify what you have to overcome. Make a list of everything. Sell the car. What does CarMax do? They sell the car. You're not selling a financing process, they're selling the car. People know that they can get approved now anywhere they go. They don't care about the car. They don't want to have to be told, well, the car you applied for, you can't get approved for. We're going to put you in this car. And if you can make your payment on time for 6 months, you can come back, we'll put you in the other car, and we're going to report to the credit bureaus, and then we're going to help fix your credit. I'm sorry. They don't want to hear that. And they're not hearing that from other people. So sell the car. Make sure you take that little extra approach when you're detailing the car. Focus on the quality, not the price. Focus on better vehicle display pages. Content is king. What do people type into Google? Words. What do you think Google tries to match on your website? Words. Is anyone here single? Okay. Does anyone use a dating website? Plenty of Fish, Match.com, anything like that?
Repeat those.
Well, actually, even write down Tinder, because you can swipe left or right. No, I'm sure. But essentially, what I'm getting at, guys, is when you're buying a car, there's a lot of emotion involved with it. Would you only do the bare minimum if you were putting out a personal ad for yourself to go find a significant other? Probably not. Consumers are visual. Looks sell. For example, why did you pick your partner? We're just talking about that. Ingram, did you marry your wife because of her heart?
No.
Okay, was it for her personality? Was it because of the attraction?
Yeah.
Okay, was it just for the looks? Or was it all of the above? Oh, I heard someone, I think someone back there likes your wife. I don't know, I heard someone whistle. No.
My dad had a lot of money.
Okay, right. But you know, guys, what we're getting at here is the vehicle display page is the profile. Yeah, Auto Trader was actually speaking at a class. I was just out at the IADAT conferences in California. The average number of vehicle pictures is 18.6 on a poll. Well,
Is that what you recommend us to do?
I would do more. I do 24 because Craigslist allows 24, and if you're using Craigslist, then you can obviously use the maximum that you're allotted. And I'll tell you right now, if you guys aren't doing it, you probably should be, because the same amount of people are still purchasing cars off Craigslist, but the number of dealers shrunk. So that means that every dealer now gets more leads. Competitors can't flag their ads anymore, which a lot of dealers had to put the same car up 45 times within a 3-day period because the ad that's most recently posted goes to the top, and other dealers were flagging other ads from other competitive dealers, and it causing a big process. But I'll tell you right now, you don't have to put all your inventory on, but I will guarantee you, take the Pepsi challenge, take 10% of your inventory and put it on, you'll be laughing all the way to the bank. A difference of 30% over a year is a difference of how many cars sold per month. 3 cars, 5 cars, 10 cars, guarantee you, it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes lots of different options to regain some of these missing sales. But vehicle beautification is one of the main ones. New car dealerships are doing it all. They're focusing on the superior detail process. I have a client in Texas who actually takes a hand brush at the end of the detail and puts lines in the carpet, so when they take a picture, you can physically see the lines. And they get dealers from so far out that want to buy the vehicle because they can see the cleanliness of the vehicle and the detail that was put into that process. They take pictures of the VIN number. They put a picture of a map where they're located. And guys, if you're located in Orlando, Florida, let's just say, who's here in Orlando? Anyone? Okay. Well, what's a city that you cater to that's the farthest city away, sir? Mm-hmm. Okay. And how many miles is that? It's right next to it? And that's the farthest city you cater to? Okay. Well, if there are cities that you want to cater to that are a little bit farther, if anyone goes to Google and types in a city name and the city initials, will pull up a map. Well, you do have the ability to use your mouse, your scroll mouse. You use this. Can everyone do this? Okay. Well, if you do that backwards, it'll take that map and maximize it. Now, if it shows that the closest city's over here and you're here, it shows a big line on how to get there, you think it's a lot easier to showcase that map within your photographs if you zoomed out and showed the city was this close to it, visually? These areas that you're wanting to target, make sure that you're putting that in your information. Now, multi-point inspection, a lot of these dealers think that the car is going to break down on them. Okay, make sure that, and if you don't have an on-staff technician, definitely good to try to at least make a goal to do that, but really sell the multi-point inspection that the car's been looked at and that it's in good condition, and that coupled with the warranty and focusing on the car. Again, these are all the proven practices that dealerships like CarMax have been doing. You got to identify the 800-pound gorilla and figure out a way to adapt. Aftermarket accessories, guys, I have a lot of dealers that will do lifted trucks. They'll put on a $400 kit of struts and some new tires, changes the look of the vehicle, $30 window tint. They can sell that car for more. It looks better. There's something that you have now that the other dealers don't. The other, CarMax doesn't have the lifted truck. CarMax doesn't have a spoiler. CarMax doesn't come with an aftermarket stereo system or TVs in the headrest. You know, you can go on Amazon right now and buy TV headrests with leather wrapped that are plug and play for $12 a piece. You can. If you have somebody on staff that knows how to plug them in pretty quick, you can start turning your vehicles and focus on vehicle beautification. You know, NIDA is about to launch, coming up, the NID accessories. If you guys aren't involved, definitely start looking to channels for beautification of your vehicles, aftermarket accessories, because I'll tell you, separate yourself from the pack. Why is my price different? Well, there's more in my car. Well, I have these warranties here. Focus on selling the car versus selling the service, as you recently did. Warranty options as well, as we covered. Now, reputation management, don't wait for bad news to land or surface. Try to put out positive, and we're going to be talking this in the calendar if you guys come by the booth. Put out good news for press releases. There's a company called prlog.org, PR for press release, log, L-O-G, like a log you'd put in a fire.org. It's a free company, and you can put out press releases. Those press releases link back to your website. Links to your website create positive value. When somebody Googles the name of your company, these types of things will pop up. You can turn pretty much anything into a press release. Anything you could put on Facebook, anything you could put on a blog, you can put in a press release. Use business listings. I covered. I guarantee you guys, if you guys go to Google right now and put top 50 business directory listings, you'll get a list. Set them up. Biggest thing I'd tell you to do though is make sure you use the same username and password, which most passwords has to be 8 characters, include a number, an uppercase letter, but don't give the responsibility to your secretary or to somebody else. Do it yourself or somebody you trust, so that way when you fire them 3 years down the road and you need to change something on one of these listings, you know how to log it and do it. Biggest complaint that I've heard. Refine your SEO targets. Focus on cities with the largest populations. Create more on-site website value by content on your website. Renaming your vehicle photos. Now, when you take a vehicle photograph with your camera assigns a number pattern to the photograph. 126495.jpg. How does it know that that's a 2012 Honda Civic EX located in Winter Park, Florida? Do they? No. And there's no way for Google to know that either. Something as simple as renaming your photographs to what it's a photograph of and where it's located will help. Now, if you have 24 photographs and each photograph is renamed to the vehicle and where it's located, and the average dealer has 18.6, what do you think is going to happen then? 1501, Bob. Come on down. You've won the Showcase Showdown. It's numbers, guys, mathematical formulas and algorithms. Now, we talked about including the map as well as the VIN number. Make sure you scroll back on the map a little bit if you're trying to get a wider reach so it doesn't show too long. H1 through H6 tags, we'll talk a little bit about this. Basically, guys, there's a tag you can put in with code that says, hey Google, when you're on the page, read this first, read this second, read this third, read this fourth, read this fifth, read this sixth. You're basically guiding Google to read specific words on your page in the order you want them to read it. It would almost be like if you were to send somebody a fax through a fax machine and it had words in bold versus smaller words. You can guide them to see what's more important. Now, there's companies that do this automatically for you, but these are things that a lot of companies overlook. And refine your site's keyword content. Cities that you're targeting, information in your metadata, your title, your keywords, and your description. Make sure that your ship has the wind pointing in the right direction with the captain at the helm. Now, remove all the exits from your website, guys. Why do you want to spend all the time and effort, resources, and money to get somebody to your site so they can click somewhere else and leave your website? Stop it. It's idiocracy. You can frame this information into your site, but take it away. Someone's going to click on Facebook to your car dealer site and it's going to say other recommended similar dealers in the area, and they're going to click on them. And then you're not going to get them back to your website. Links going out of your website decrease the value of your website. Links coming into your website increase the value of your website. Make sure that you have a fair balance and figure out a way to frame in the information from these social media tools directly into your website versus provide them doorways out. Reselling current customers. I don't know what position every dealership is in this room, if it's 5% or 45%, but I'll tell you right now, you guys have a black book of people with numbers that bought from you, that trust you. Opportunities for upgrading and upselling. Do you guys take payments online, anybody? Why would you not want to put that page where your current inventory is scrolling right in front of their face every single time they come to your website, every single week, every single 2 weeks, or every single month? Would you like to upgrade your vehicle? Click here. Account number, first name, last name, email, phone. Keep that loan going longer and get more of a down payment. They already trust you. It's easier to sell to your current clients than it is to gain new clients.
Michael, put that one into a takeaway, what you just said. That's awesome.
Well, you know, a lot of the times dealers use third-party payments, and so it's, well, when they click this button, send them to our website. Worst thing you can do. They leave the website, they see a different URL, they lose trust. There's so many phishing schemes and tactics out there where, you know, I click a button and maybe it's their first time buying. It's within 30 days of them purchasing the vehicle. They don't trust that they should make the payment to a third-party website that's not in whom they trust. It's through some other credit corporation / Bob's Auto Sales, and there's very minimal information. Well, those payment pages can be framed into a page internally within the dealership's website, or if there is a page, excuse me, and for some reason those pages have to be on its own security certificate, you can at least have a page when they click make a payment that says, before you make your payment, we would love to trade in your current vehicle and get you into a newer, nicer car with no down payment or X down payment. Otherwise, click here to make your payment. Pitch, pitch, pitch. In the good book, it says the more you ask, the more you shall receive. If every single person in here actually used their black book of their dealer customer roster positively, I guarantee you that in itself would regain your missing sales. But even a small portion in percentage, above and beyond everything else, makes all the world a difference. Collect customer service data if you have a service page. Make sure you're getting this information for them. Aftermarket accessories, parts, and warranties. These are all things to upsell. Why don't you upsell somebody on a warranty that's trying to make their payment? Or do you just want to only ask the first time? Because you ask them every time. I mean, the last presentation I did, I brought up green eggs and ham, and I know we're getting close to the time here, so we got to stop. But if anyone could raise their hand and tell me the general concept of green eggs and ham. DJ. Ask for the sale. Would you like it in the hat? Would you like it with the bat? Would you like it with the cat? I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. Would you like them on a boat? Would you like them with a goat? Would you like a warranty, sir? What makes you money? Ask your customers, what items do I have at my fingertips that I can utilize to sell to my existing client base? And am I doing it, and am I doing it properly and correctly? Above and beyond that, I will throw out another thing to green eggs and ham. The whole book was written with 50 words. I reference that in a lot of keyword content, you know, keyword matching. He did it on a bet. His accountant bet him that he couldn't write a book with 50 words or less, and so he did it. That's the whole reason why the green eggs and ham exists. So when you talk about keyword content, you want to be found under used cars, used trucks, used vans. Make sure that the words on your website and the content on their website utilizes green eggs and ham. Sam, I am. Look at the words. Used cars, trucks, vans, SUVs, sedans, 4x4s, trucks, surrounding city, city name, county name, state name, zip code, buy here, pay here, bad credit, no credit, in-house. Google actually matches those words that can physically read on your website and says, okay, they claim that they do this. Can they back up what they claim they do, yes or no? And that's going to be the grade that you're given. Now, analyze your application. I'll tell you, if you're asking for too much up front, you're not going to get it. I have more clients that say, I want first name, last name, email, phone, and that's it. I will get the rest of the information here. I don't want to be greedy. I want to increase my percentages. I can get that information when they're there. If you haven't filled out a 5-page form, I guarantee you, you're losing out on missing applications. It's overwhelming for most customers. Focus on what you need. What's the bare bones minimum? Now, it might be 16 required pieces of information. It might be 5. You might say, you know what, I'm willing to take the 4 and get the rest when they're here. But take a look at it, because most of these forms that I go to, I'm like, well, you're not getting leads because you have 17 required fields on the first page, 32 on the second, trade-in information. You know, it would confuse somebody if I got there. It's better to get them to sit, at your dealership and talk to you and look at the car than it is to scare them away on the forum. Really quick here, chokes and throttle pages, pages that force you to get their information prior to looking at a vehicle. We have clients that are getting thousands a month. You can either give away a prize or just use it as a login to view my private inventory. Now, to plan for the future, since this was the year that was in Back to the Future, I thought I'd pay a little homage here. Unless you're Doc Brown or Marty McFly, you really can't. Knowing the future is impossible, guys. You can study the past and look for patterns so you can correct the events for the future. But what we're going to review here is high monthly payments, once a month payments, overly high interest rates, and front-end loaded interest, current repos. These guys can sell, these new franchise stores can sell your customers all day long, but they're going to get repo within the next 3 to 6 months because of the way they're setting them up. And repossessions are going to be what the future holds for you in 2016. So making sure that you don't put success on layaway, act now, and focus on advertising these types of terms within your website. Repos in the last 30 days, affordable payment schedules, quality pre-owned vehicles, and rebuild your credit from a prior repo, because these guys are not going to be able to hold the car for very long that's getting sold to them today. And at that point, they're not going to be able to go back. So if you want to clean up the scraps or go out and catch the fish yourself, depends on how to make up those regaining sales. Now, we do a free website review. There's no obligation. Hopefully I didn't mention my company name other than my email address here. We like to educate dealers on tips and tactics that they can use. But we do a no obligation free website analysis. We'll tell you where you rank within the top 200 terms in Google for used cars, used trucks, used vans, bad credit car loans, this, that, the other, and tips and tricks that you can use to apply. My name is Michael Jackson. I appreciate the time being here. We have a little bit of time here for Q&A if Ingram Walters allows it here.
Yeah, DJ, you have one in your back. Let's go ahead and knock that one out. I've got so many things I'm going to have to come by the booth to ask. Give a booth number, Michael, right quick. You know it?
I believe it's 605. It's actually right next to the bar, so whoever wants to come by, I'll buy you a free drink.
Right next to the bar.
602.
Go back to your website so they can write that down. I mean, why wouldn't you do this, Michael? I mean, it's a free SEO performance review. Why? I mean, tell us, what do you need to get it? We got to give you our website, I guess.
I need to basically know the URL of your business. abcautosales.com, bobsautosales.com. I mean, whatever the URL is, we're running through a mobile check to make sure you're compliant with Google's mobile get-in that they put through back in April to make sure they're actually taking out listings for dealers that do not have a mobile-friendly website when consumers are doing mobile searches, because they want to make sure to showcase the creme de la creme to their customers. So if you don't have a mobile-friendly website, you're not even listed on a mobile search. And everyone's got larger cell phones these days, and it's just a must. So above and beyond the desktop search, mobile searches, and just making sure that you're compliant.
Okay, DJ, right there, quick.
My name's Devin, I'm from Virginia. You had mentioned earlier in Massachusetts there is a local market perception for lending.com is very strong.
Mm-hmm.
In some markets it's AutoTrade, some it's cars.com. How do you determine for your area which is or has the highest local market perception? Where do you go online to find that?
Well, there's really not a website you can go to say, show me the best conversion ratio for paid, websites in the area. I mean, the biggest advice I would give would be to, if you're in a 20 group with local dealers, if you have friends that are in the business that you trust, and maybe they're in other lines of industry where they're not really competing, you can usually get a pretty firm conception of the market. But it kind of depends. It's just city to city, it seems sometimes, and you can't just say, well, option A is going to work for me in my area because nationally they rate 80%, but 20% could be in the area you're from, and 98% could be on a national level, and that's the reason why it's in 80%. Realistically, I mean, it's the women's sewing circle and the car dealer auction house philosophy of just talking to people within your area, finding out really what works.
All right, great. Let's give Michael Jackson a big hand. Thanks, Michael. And Michael, I know we only have 45 minutes.